Hi, I'm Chaz, and this is my YouTube channel where I speak about lifestyle, culture, and hobbies. Today I'll be speaking about why I left New York. Now I know this is a big topic for everyone, and a lot of people have covered it from the notorious article to the reply back from Jerry Seinfeld. I'm just a normal guy that has been born and raised in New York. I love New York, but at the same time, New York is a specific kind of beast. You have to be a certain person when you live there. When you're a New Yorker and you've been born and raised in it, you don't really realize what life really is outside of New York. You kind of live in that bubble and you expect everyone to be that way. What do I mean by that? Well, in New York, for instance, it's this big bustling city, right? And everyone's in a rush to go everywhere. But for us, that's just the normal everyday grind, everyday hustle. It's the get out of my way, I have something to do mentality. The truth of it is that when you go through it day in and day out, it just becomes overwhelming too much. You know, the things that you see, the people that you encounter, the things that you hear, smell, everything is just too much. And even the commute, like, yes, New York is one of the greatest cities that you can travel around and you can get around easy, especially in the United States. But I went to Japan last year and I experienced what their transportation hub and network and everything else was, and it was magnificent. Like, everything was clean, everything was on time. They even told you when they weren't going to be on time. It was great. In New York, when it snows, like it's snowing now in New York, not where I am, hint, a reason why I left. You can really have a commute that's an hour changed to 2 hours or an hour and a half. And when you have to connect to another train, sometimes that means that you have to stand on the platform and it's cold, and then that train is either delayed or you missed that train because your train that you were on was delayed and that next one is delayed. I'm a big car guy. I'm into faster cars, sport compacts, imports. Euros are cool. I'm more of a Japanese fan. But that culture in itself is so different. The highways, the roads, the potholes, the traffic, the arrogance of the other drivers. It's not enjoyable to me anymore just to be able to drive, just to be able to go on a cruise or drive spiritedly, drive responsibly. For me, that's my bigger thing is that I love to do these things, playing my music, windows down, driving on the Southern State, driving on the Belt, the LIE, Cross Island, all of these highways. Nice little interconnection on the island of Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn. And that gave me a whole vibe. But then, having the potholes, having the drivers, having various of accidents, cops out there giving tickets for whatever reason, it's not that same feeling that I fell in love with. And for me, I have to feel a place that I can love. And to kind of go to another point that I said as far as the weather. In New York, I recently came back. I went up for Thanksgiving, and I drove up, and I was like, all right, cool. I'm up here now. The minute that I got out of my car, went inside, went to sleep, woke up, went outside, blistering cold. And then the winter blues hit me. For those that aren't in the Northeast, the winter blues is pretty much you have shorter days, longer dark periods, it's cold, it's barren, there's no leaves on the trees except for the evergreens. And it just really, it's sort of like a depression for a countless amount of months because in the Northeast, the winters are from, let's say, late October, let's say roughly around Halloweenish to, it's been up to like March, April of recent, where the weather doesn't break to hit those warmer seasons. And then you have this super humidity. So it's like this oppressive heat where it's hot and you feel heavy, and whatever you do, you can step out the shower and feel nasty again. So one of my hobbies and a lifestyle choice of mine is that I'm into practicing my Second Amendment rights. Right, not a privilege. It's a right. So in New York, for me, I did everything right. I had my pistol permit, and pistol permit meaning that I can actually hold a handgun, not I can conceal. There's really no conceal in New York. So although I have the tool and means to protect myself in the event, I'm not able to. So for me to move here and I'm able to get a concealed carry for a reasonable price compared to what New York, just to be able to touch and own a pistol is, I have no words for it. Like I don't understand, and I'm also into owning older firearms, having that heritage of firearms to know the mechanics of how things worked back then. To be able to hold a piece of history as well. And I can actually do this legally. This is my right, not my privilege, like a driver's license. I'll go more into a video because I have a lot of people asking me about that because, to be honest, I always kept that to myself because it's such a hot button topic and I never wanted to get into those things. But I have so much demand of people asking me about information and having a misinformation as well about it. So I want to share to my people exactly what the actual information is and what that actually is. And in a nutshell, that's why I moved and I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I forgot one major thing. I just want to punch in here. I really moved to Georgia as well because it's so expensive to own a home in New York, to even rent in New York. I was looking on the island, all around the island, and it was such a zoo to get a house. People were overbidding $20,000, $10,000 for a house, and it didn't make sense to me to pay more for what a house actually is worth. And aside from that, the taxes that it takes. Then you have to pay insurance. Then you have to maintain a home. Some of these houses have been up since the 40s, the 50s, and you have to maintain a house that's that old. I have a house that's younger than me for less than New York and 1,000 more square feet than what I would have gotten in New York. Me, in the house that I'm in now, I would have paid, I want to say like 600, 700,000 for my house. And my taxes would have been out of here. It's ridiculous how expensive it is. On the line, in the city, in the boroughs, it's just, it makes no sense. What are you paying for it? I even looked upstate. But upstate is almost the same thing. And you have some of the amenities that you have. You have regular plumbing. I had to deal with, I was looking at houses that had cesspools and things like that. In Nassau County, in Queens, and Brooklyn, Bronx, all that, there's none of that. So, I really I really moved to be able to live. In New York, you work so hard to continue to work. There isn't like I'm living to, I'm working to live, I'm living to work in New York. I was fighting so much for what? And that was the biggest question that I was asking myself. For what? I'm paying all this money for what? I'm fighting to be here in New York for what? And since it's been shut down, I mean, it's snowing out there. What outdoor dining? How are businesses going to survive? How are people going to enjoy if they're stuck at home? If they're, not able to go outside? It's not like you can say, okay, we'll go to a park, be able to be semi-social outside. There isn't any of that. It's too cold.